to the Crystal Zen Garden. Today I have a very, I would say, deeper reading. As I channeled through and meditated, I just felt like we all needed to hear a message from our shadow self today, which can get a little deep for some, so if at any given point this is just not resonating with you, please feel free to leave it where it is. But those who are in resonant and need to hear this today, or for whenever you watch this video, let's get started. Alright, let's jump into my SpiritSong tarot and let's see what we have going on. We have the Two of Crystals with balance and adaptability. We have Three of Shells with playfulness and bliss. I'm already kind of picking up that we need balance within ourselves, because sometimes when we are so deep into a mental state where it is a little bit darker, you need to remember to bring back the light, to bring back the playfulness, to bring back that joy, and to adapt in the shadows. Although feel as though this is a message from your shadow self, I almost feel as if it's a cry for help is kind of what I'm hearing right now. More in the sense of your shadow self is trying to speak to you and just have you understand that just because we use the word shadow self doesn't mean that it's dark and scary. And I do think a lot of times within the spiritual community, the shadow self is really deemed quite negative. But in reality, it is just the things in our lives that we are not ready to face and have not faced yet. But what people forget is as you continue to get to know and move through your shadow self, the shadow becomes this beautiful, glowing, dark light, as if it's, ooh, and we have an airplane taking off here, and for me, that's really, wow, I'm gonna let that ride. I don't know if we can hear that or not, but that, to me, is just a sign that you gotta lift off, and you gotta lift off with this false creation of what you think your shadow self is, because in reality, your shadow self is just trying to work with you to create better balance. That was quite interesting. That was a really interesting download, especially because we have dolphins here with the Three of Shells. They're really spiritually in tune. Ooh, now I have sirens once again. You may hear that or not, but ooh, and channeling, something quite interesting. I feel like there is a lot of noise going on in your life, and I feel as though, especially when we do get into this spiritual realm and we start ascending and, you know, doing the tarot, doing the crystals, having the herbs, having the incense and everything, I feel like a lot of things can be clouded, but truly remember that all of these are just tools. This is a launching point for you to really honestly get to understand and know yourself better. And I think in the spiritual community that sometimes we do view these these tools as necessary, but understand that this work and this progression to understanding yourself better is honestly the only thing you really truly ever need is just you. So just don't forget that as we continue to explore what your shadow self is trying to have come to light. Just understand that you don't need a fancy massive journal, you don't need all these crystals and all these decks and everything and all, like, you don't need it. You really just need yourself. For some reason, like that, just remember that, because sometimes people do get afraid of joining this kind of frequency because it seems very intense, like you need all this stuff, but there's no rules. It's the rules that you make within yourself that matter. So let's continue. Two of acorns, insight and focus. Okay, focus on yourself. Focus on what is kind of going on. I like to really, when I'm personally feeling like my shadow self is talking, I like to really hone in on, what is triggering me, what is it kind of all based around. And I feel like that's really important for you to really focus on kind of what is bothering you right now. If family's triggering you, or if you have a pet, that pet is doing something that's triggering you. 555 on my timer. Really focus on the trigger and try to trace it back to what truly is the issue. It's very interesting. That's a very powerful stance as well, and see how we're moving forward. So I do feel as though I feel like some of us have been a little stuck and a little afraid recently, but there is going to be movement forward, which is really exciting. King of Feathers, Logic and Justice. Ooh. Wow. I just want to take a moment and look at this card. This is beautiful. Within the shadow, there's always light. There's always that duality. And once again, I truly, truly want to just make sure that we are aware that just because it's darkness doesn't make it evil, doesn't make it bad. You need to go in within yourself to find that light. And that's what your shadow self is asking for. It's asking for you to logically understand it and approach it with not fear, but with more of a gentler, kinder energy. Alright. Ooh, another king. We could be in a little bit of a masculine energy right now, since we're getting quite a few masculine cards. You're the King of Acorns, optimism and innovation. When I see the horse, I always just think of movement. Just off the rip. We have optimism here. I feel like we're moving into a bit of a better space when it comes to this connection with this side of ourselves. Wow, this deck, this deck just really gets me thinking. This is amazing. All of our top cards right now are all looking to the right, are all in movement, where the bottom cards are currently just kind of in a really loose either stance or movement. So it's another interesting sign. Eight of Acorns, energy and results. The Queen of Crystals with comfort and prosperity. We have two cards that just came out that are looking a little bit back, so maybe take note of, once again, it's it's this energy of when we are diving in deeper with ourselves and we're really trying to understand who we are, especially with the shadow self. My problem for hitting, but we need to remember that it's, first off, this is a safe space. When you do this type of work with yourself, make sure that you're always in a safe space to begin with. But personally, when I kind of move through my shadow self and move through wounds and trauma, it is this like beautiful pathway to the past and to hone in on what happened in that moment and the origins of it. And I really do think, especially with these two cards looking back, it's if you do this through meditation, through journaling, through whatever works for you personally, this backtracking is going to bring you a lot of clarity, a lot of results, a lot of just beautiful insight to not only who you are, but to what your future may hold and what your present self is trying to bring peace with. So that's beautiful, especially because these are two, sometimes looking to the past is a bit scary. So we have a hedgehog and we have an eel, which are both a bit rougher type of creatures. So although I know it's very scary, it is very much worth it in the end. But always generally make sure that you are in a very, very safe space. If it is something that you're truly diving deep into and it is very traumatic in any way, just make sure that you have some sort of comfort and some sort of, maybe person or something, like anything that you can just rely on to make sure that they can bring you out of and help you if you need to. The Ten of Shells, blessings and well-being. Once again, although I feel like a lot of us just need to hear that our shadow selves, it's kind of not funny, but it's kind of interesting that while I was shuffling and even just kind of moving through the reading, I can't really pinpoint an exact message other than just your shadow self genuinely trying to reach out. The shadow self asking you to pay attention to it. And your shadow self almost walking you through what needs to happen in order to move forward, progress. And by doing so, even your shadow self is just like, hey, if we 12 on 12, which if we do this work, if we do this inner work with ourselves, it will unlock us to progress to higher frequencies, better relationships with ourselves, which inevitably, if our inner world is moving clear, our outer exterior world will reflect that. So just peace within, peace without. That's a really beautiful message, because once again, like, the shadow self is always kind of deemed a little bit more spooky and intense, but in reality, it really is honestly the best helper. It is very hard to move through, really traumatic moments and really, embarrassing and fearful and angry moments, but it's so beneficial for you, your soul, your energy, and just your life in general, and people around you. We have the Knight of Acorns with action and drive. You clicked on this video for a reason, and maybe we've really been putting this type of work off, but it is time. It is time. Once again, it's this movement forward. We have a lot of cards looking forward. Queen of Shells with peace and compassion. Once again, I do feel like don't rush. Don't push. Do not do anything that makes you uncomfortable, but understand that you are protected. And this is such a beautiful time to very much be vulnerable and very much be super empathetic and compassionate with yourself, because I feel like sometimes when we go back to maybe embarrassing moments, it's really challenging to kind of hold a kind, loving space for us. But personally, something that I do when I do maybe like a meditative moment with shadow work is I will really think of a moment in my life, and I sit down, I lay down, maybe I'm at the beach, maybe I'm just in my room, but regardless, it's a safe space for me. And I think of a time in my life that really hurt me, really maybe damaged me, and as I'm moving through it and kind of understanding, why it happened and how it's still affecting me, and maybe wounds from even further into the past that maybe caused that moment, by the end of it, I give myself the biggest hug, in my mind's eye, in the present moment. I physically hug myself. So if that resonates with you and that's something that you try out, please let me know if it works for you, because when I started doing that, it really changed a big part in that whole aspect with myself, and it honestly just brought so much love. And even in times where, like, in the present moment, if something kind of crummy happens and I don't have anybody around me to confide in or to gain any sort of empathy or connection with, I hug myself. And it seems really silly, but it really has helped, and it really has helped me move through a lot of things, because it's truly just a moment with you, and to know that you are with yourself and you have yourself, because at the end of the day, you are the only person that you're going to be with the rest of your life. So your relationship with you does matter. I think in our society, the relationship that we build with everybody else is super, super important, but that relationship with ourselves tends to get a little left behind due to the demand of the external world. So truly, I'm getting that we need to focus on who we are and get to know every single part of us, even the good and the bad, because we all have duality. We all have that balance within us. Nobody is just purely good, and nobody is just purely evil. There is a beautiful, beautiful balance. And remember that nobody's perfect. 9 shells with gratitude and fulfillment. The 5 of feathers with strategy and resilience. Definitely, as you're moving through whatever works for you during the time that you do spend with yourself and really deeply get to know with yourself better, really take note of what works and what doesn't. Because the biggest thing is, the example that I give might work for some people, but for others, it just doesn't resonate. It just doesn't hit the way that it did for me. Really take note of what works for you, and really make sure that you are implementing the things that do work for you, rather than forcing yourself to do things that just maybe seem trendy but just don't work. So really, really focus on you and your feelings. And honestly, another really great thing, which seems quite simple and silly, but when you do just finish through a journal or a meditation or a walk or maybe a dance party to get to know yourself, just understand that that is amazing. And showing up for yourself, period, is something to be really grateful for. And I know kind of gratefulness is another really wishy-washy moment, because being grateful for everything, ignorance is bliss, and that's just false positivity. No, I do personally think that you can have gratitude in your life but still understand the realism and the truth of what's going on around you. But just have gratitude for yourself and be grateful that you did show up, because not a lot of people can do that, and it takes a lot of strength to do this type of work. And there's going to be days where you are all for it, and there's going to be days where it just, not today. But just by understanding, you know what, there's been several days personally where I have had plans of doing all this like inner work, and I just show up to that day and I'm like, wow, you know what, like, I don't have the space for this today. I don't have the energy. I don't have the mental capacity. That in and of itself is self-love and self-exploration. 2020 on my timer. So even though I didn't do everything that I wanted to do, I still understand that moment of, okay, I just need to rest, or I just need to do something else today, is still something really beautiful. And it's still getting to know me and getting to know my inner world and getting to know where my boundaries are with my own self and my own journey. And that's beautiful. And we have our last card here. Once again, I highly recommend this deck. It is so beautiful, and especially if we are just getting into tarot, I do feel like it's really, really wonderful to not only have the traditional tarot, like the 5 of Feathers and the 9 of Shells, but it's also really nice to have a kind of oracle feel to it where we do have the words underneath. I highly recommend this deck. There's nothing involved with this, but this is kind of what it looks like. If you find this, I just highly recommend. It's beautiful. Obviously, where you get this will be a little bit different. My apologies for still having that, but it's beautiful. And I highly, highly recommend. So let's see what our last card says. 6 of Crystals. Synergy and gratitude. Work together with yourself. That is what I'm hearing. Work with you for you. Create that beautiful balance within yourself, because you are so divine and so worth getting to know, and there's so many things that you don't even know about yourself that are so magical that other people see and maybe you don't. But that is kind of the feeling that I'm getting from this whole 2. Ooh. I'm getting from your shadow self. It's just asking you to pay attention to it. It's asking you to take small and graceful steps towards understanding yourself better, understanding your triggers, understanding the reasons why you do what you do, and to have patience with yourself, because not every day is going to be the day to do this. Not every moment's going to be the moment to do this type of work. Really feel it out. Really, if you're into doing it with the full moon, maybe sync it with the full moon. If you are somebody who kind of needs to do this outside, making sure that you're in an environment that best suits you. And if you like to do art, maybe that's a beautiful way. Personally, a lot of my art, if I lay it out, I do I do art on the side. 23. So if you go check my Instagram, which is linked below, I do a lot of meditative shadow work, highest self type art, where I just kind of sit with myself and I paint and create what I channel. And a lot of my art that I personally, I'll set it up all on the ground and I kind of flip through all of it, and I can actually read my art and where I was at in that time frame and kind of what my soul was trying to tell me, or the different aspects of who my being was trying to tell me. So if you do it that way, like, if you haven't laid all your art and I mean, like, it can be paintings, it can be drawings, it can be crafts, it can really be anything. If you lay that all down, there's always a really beautiful hidden message that your soul and your energy was trying to tell you when you created. So I highly recommend doing that, especially if we are an artist. But if we're not, if we're somebody more logical, like if we like building Legos, or if we like, spending our time, building something, or figuring out a puzzle, or doing some sort of cooking and whatnot, even that time with yourself and going deeper into your mind, it's still a beautiful way to puzzle piece through and connect yourself. So always keep that in mind. Always understand you don't have to sit down and have this like massive journal session with yourself. Moving through shadow work and getting to know yourself is honestly just doing what you love and spending true authentic time with yourself. And I like to say kind of without distractions. I think listening to music is really beautiful, because I do think as humans, sometimes we do very much get a lot of messages via music, especially when I started to get into all of this. Spirit spoke through music so much, where I would just be doing like a painting and I put on some random playlist and it honestly just spoke so deeply. So I also recommend that too. I will forever advocate for listening to music while being in a spiritual progression, just because it's really, really comforting and really, really telling. And sometimes we miss signs that we didn't kind of maybe see in other ways, but sometimes music is really beautiful there. So that's the tarot portion. I have some beautiful oracle cards I kind of want to jump into now, just because I kind of want to see a little bit deeper, just because I'm kind of sensing this was quite a beautiful layout, but I feel like is missing. Take a sip from my tea. Alright. We have these beautiful cards. My voice is so raspy. It's very interesting. When I started this reading, I didn't really feel this like tense in my throat, but I feel quite tense. Maybe we're not. Maybe we're not verbalizing or advocating for ourselves right now. It's the same. My throat feels very, very tight. Maybe some of us are sick, and sometimes ascension symptoms are correlated to that. So maybe some of us are going through a bit of an ascension period right now, because maybe we are doing this inner work, which is really beautiful. So if you are going through kind of like a really deep awakening, ooh, is a good one, let me tell you. So let's get into some oracle, find out some more. Ooh, boundaries. Okay, yeah. That makes sense. Once again, when we are doing this line of work, really honestly have patience with yourself and create boundaries, because sometimes we do get lost and we get overly triggered, and a safe space sometimes becomes an unsafe space. So really make sure that when you are diving deep into yourself, you have a way that you can come out of it. And that's honestly just a boundary with ourselves and others, especially if we live in a bit of a more congested home and we have a lot of people surrounding us. Just kind of make others know, like, hey, like, I'm just gonna have some quiet time to myself, like, please do not disturb me. Like, really advocate for yourself, because you really want to, if you want to dive deep, you want to dive deep without any interruptions. We have macroism, which I love this card. This is also related to the crown chakra, so I do find that shadow work, which beautiful that we have purple. kind of running throughout right now. But just with the crown, you are not alone. Other people are going through this. Other people are also moving through things, although maybe not exactly like your situation or whatnot. Just know that like this is something that we all have to do and all have to go through if we want to quote unquote level up. But it's beautiful. We have a lot of like divine crown energy. Just also know that like you are divinely protected. I keep kind of hearing that over and over again, like 444. You are really, really, truly divinely protected, and understand that, you know, once again, like this is, although this type of stuff is intense, it's not, nothing's gonna hurt you. You know, you are safe. You are safe to express yourself. You are safe to be with yourself in a very vulnerable way. I keep tripping up on my words. I do find what I'm getting is we're a little bit fearful. I think maybe some of the things that we see on the internet does scare us and does kind of demonize this line of work, like having a shadow book and, you know, making sure you're in a dark room with the lights off. It's like, that's, although it might work for some people, you do not have to do that. You could be in a brightly lit room. You could have pets and animals with you, but just understand that you still have to go deep within yourself. And we have motivate here. I think maybe we're avoiding a little bit as we kind of get deeper into this reading. I do think some of us are avoiding, and our shadow self is almost truly asking us to kind of get back into connection with us, with yourself, you know? Really use that mind's eye. We kind of have the third eye kind of moving here, especially with that. Also crying. Once again, I think crying is such a beautiful way to release, and especially when I am personally doing this work, a beautiful thing for me that I do is I do cry. I do release it in that way. So, you know, if that feels safe for you, by all means. If it doesn't work for you, all good. Acceptance. Accept yourself fully for who you are, because you are enough. You are enough. And just because we've had maybe lower frequency moments in our lives, that doesn't mean that's who we are. It just means that we are human. It just means that we are somebody with emotions and feelings, and to truly, truly accept ourselves. And I know that's hard, and it is a process. And something that I've learned, understand that this whole journey is going to take time. And just because that you've decided to dedicate your time to doing this doesn't mean that somebody who is a lower frequency or below you on the timeline, that doesn't make you better. And that's another thing that you can truly explore, because I do think that within this type of thing, we like to egotize ourselves and believe that, oh, because I'm doing all this work, it makes me better than the next person who's not really working on themselves. No, it takes time for everybody to come around to this and focus on you and not that other person. 3-3-3-3. Truly accept where you are at and accept where other people are at, because I do know when we do kind of work with our shadow, it obviously comes to traumatic moments, and a lot of those times it's traumatic memories, especially with people. Just understand that just because you're moving through it and you felt as though in that time that person treated you wrong, everybody will come to in their own time, and you need to have acceptance for everyone, forgiveness for everyone. You do not have to forget if somebody did you wrong. But truly, everyone is on their own timeline. Acceptance is really important, not just yourself. Acceptance for the way that that person treated you, because that's all they knew at that time, right? And even when we treated somebody else bad, that's all we knew at that time. Truth. This also brings me back to the Justice card, which is something that's really always on my mind, especially when I maybe get into a relationship that, didn't turn out, or I get into an argument. There is always two sides to a story. So when we are moving through traumatic events, kind of how we were honing in on acceptance, when we are moving through these really deep issues within ourselves, just remember that you experienced something, and the person that you maybe shared this embarrassment or fight or traumatizing moment, they experienced something. And at the end of the day, you are responsible for your emotions. You are responsible for your actions, not the other person. And you are also responsible for the way that you now move forward, and how you treat other people, and how you treat the situation. But once again, there could be a million truths to a scenario that you were trying to move through. But obviously, your truth is your truth. But understand that that person's truth is also their truth. So to come within peace with yourself, coming to an understanding of, I see where I went wrong, I see where the other person went wrong. Although I am choosing to move on and move forward, I accept where that person is at, and I choose to let go. So that's a beautiful message that I'm hearing from your shadow self. I love our shadow selves because I think it's a very raw person type energy. Obviously understanding. I feel like if we met the embodiment of a shadow self, it would just be so beautiful and so captivating and just so honest. To me, with our shadow selves are really just a raw version of who we are without any blocks. It is just our way of reflecting these kind of deeper, darker moments and bringing them to light to encourage us to move forward, to shed, to break cords, cut cords. It would be such an enchanting being, truly. But we got our last oracle card, and we have strength. So I've had the lion pop up, especially with how the lion with logic and justice, but strength. Just by you showing up to this video, wanting to engage with your shadow self is everything, and it shows truly tremendous strength. And with the lion, it's also to not be afraid, but also to accept that maybe you are afraid, which sounds so contradictory, right? It's alright to be afraid. It's just not alright to stay in that energy. So really let all this flow in and all this flow out. But this is beautiful. Your shadow self is really coming in strong. It's coming in quick. It's coming with boundaries, with beautiful energy of let's work together so we can create a better you. I have one more deck that I would love us to explore. Thank you for hanging out, if you've still been hanging out. I'm just going to take another sip of my tea as you kind of maybe sit with the imaging. Let me know if you start seeing a lot of pink and purple flowers the next few days after you watch this video. Let me know, especially if you see some lions appear as well. I love having things in my deck that I can see in my reality and in my daily life. I think it's something really beautiful and connective. So if we are looking into tarot, I think animal tarot decks are super amazing to get into, or even flowers. Alright, let's jump into our last deck. It's going to be a bit of another oracle deck. This is super beautiful. Let you take a look. We have a lot of butterflies, which is transformation, some moths possibly. This is called Nature's Whisper. I love it. I absolutely love it. It's another oracle, but the visuals are just super amazing. So let's jump into these cards. We have Infinite Blessings. Wow. First off, whew. You are guided, you are blessed. You are kind of in the right space, the right time to kind of be doing this type of work. So understand that this needs to happen for such a beautiful reason, especially we have kind of essence of winter. Winter is just honestly, genuinely that time that we become bare, that we go into that shadow work. So if we kind of feel like we're transitioning, just know that as we come out of it as well, that there will be definitely some beautiful things that we open ourselves up to. Wow. Once again, this deck is just so stunning. Breakthrough. Okay. All right, we're making waves, huh? Yes. All right. So as we do this work, we are breaking through. You guys are going to have some great clarity, and I know it's tough. I know it's tough to go through this stuff, but wow. You're making revelations. You're gaining clarity. You're having these moments of pure just bliss. That's stunning. Sit in that energy too. This is beautiful. Bountiful harvest. Guys, this is such a beautiful way to end the reading. Because sometimes, once again, that shadow work is heavy, but to know that it will be so worth it in the end is just everything with peace. And our peace within our world. So that means as we're working in our inner world, our exterior world will reflect. Yes, I love that. Be your best self always. That's so beautiful. Allow yourself to flow. Allow yourself to really connect with you because you are so beautiful. I have that video and that meme that from the Little Rascals where it's Alfalfa and he's saying that you are so beautiful to me. I just can't get that out of my head right now. And I'm giggling. I'm feeling a lot lighter. I feel like in the beginning of this reading and towards the middle, I did kind of feel quite heavy because I do feel like we were I think a lot of us are a bit nervous and a bit on edge, and when we are kind of moving through our shadow self and diving into it, it is heavy. It can be really, really weight. But I feel like as we're getting out of this energy, I feel a lot lighter. And just understand that I a lot of the times will dive deep into myself, and then as I come out, I kind of let myself have a break in between, and whatever that looks like for you, amazing, but be your best self always. It's gorgeous. Stay in flow. Stay in your flow. Show your support. Love yourself. And I know that it's so easy to say that to people where it's just like, oh, just like love yourself. I understand. It's a journey with self-love. but just by showing up and maybe getting in front of the mirror and going, hey, you did it today, you look beautiful, I am proud of you, that is enough. This deck is so stunning. Potential gateway. Okay. Ooh. This is actually the last deck in the card, or the last card in the deck. My apologies. But I absolutely love it, because to me, 4-4-4-4, y'all, you are protected. Don't you worry. When we do dive in, I feel like almost this is like beautiful imagery of what diving into yourself would look like. I actually, when I meditate and I get kind of into my safe space, I am kind of on like a similar island, but mine has a bunch of like lotuses, and I have a massive waterfall kind of coming down. But really find this place within yourself, because it is just so beautiful. And to me, this is where you can connect with your shadow self. And see, it's not scary. Look at it. It's so beautiful and brave, but it's just nighttime. And allow that to look like whatever it looks like for you. And if you do draw, would love to maybe see kind of what your pathways look like. New experience and possibilities. That's so beautiful. Once again, we have a horse, some movement. Genuinely, as we move through ourselves, we create a portal and a frequency to allow newness to come in. As we shed the old, we attract the new. So hold on tight to that. And our last one, shift your energy. I think a really beautiful kind of closing message to this reading is allow yourself to view shadow work in a different perspective. Allow yourself to see that it's not as scary as some make it seem, and it's not as light and bright as some make it seem. It's honestly what it is to you. And I think that's a beautiful question to ask yourself. What does shadow work look for me personally? What am I going to do from this moment forward to have a safe space and to be able to shift my energy with it? And that's really the message from your shadow self. It's just, hey, I'm here. I want to spend time with you. I want you to get to know yourself deeper. Let's shift this maybe perspective, this negative perspective that we have of this type of inner work, and allow something beautiful to be replaced by it, because it's, although intense and can be overwhelming, it is one of the most productive things that you can do for yourself. And I'm truly, truly so proud of you if you showed up today and you are showing up for yourself every day. And once again, I understand that it's hard, and even if we're not ready to do that work, it's a beautiful, mature thing to be able to acknowledge that. So thank you so much for joining me again at the Crystal Zen Garden. Please let me know what resonated with you, what didn't resonate, if we start seeing some horses, lions, and whatnot. Would love to know. And may your journey be bountiful and safe. And I will see you in the next video. Safe travels.